explain briefly how Che works. Keep in mind this is just an example. It's not done like this everywhere. Because the Che process is not put together with rivets and bolts, but it's more put together with rubber bands. So you can flex it and adjust it to whatever fits in your community. The other thing is, this is only one example of a Che model. Like this is called the community-based model. There's church-based, church-initiated, family-based. There's various types. So if you understand this basic principle, I think the rest will be more easily understood. We're going to start off, I'm going to use little objects to symbolize different characters in the Che process. This globe is going to represent the Che coordinator for a region. This person lives in the region of the world where they want to develop a Che community. They can speak the language, they are familiar with the culture. They don't have to be born there. They could be a missionary, an NGO person, a pastor of a local village, a variety of things. But the key is that they know Che and they have been making disciples in that area. These two compasses are going to represent what's called master trainers. Master trainers are people from the region, not necessarily a specific community, but they are native to the area. They know the language, obviously, the culture very well, and real importantly, they love Jesus and they love the people that live in that region. The Che coordinator has been working with these two, discipling them, making disciples of Christ, as well as teaching them about Che. And these two master trainers have committed themselves to helping multiply Che in different communities in that region. These pennies are representing people in a community. Now I need you to understand, this community has been selected to do Che, but it's been selected over a period of many months. The master trainers have entered this community as well as others, mingling with the people, asking questions, getting to know them, telling them a little bit about Che. They would also be meeting with the leadership, talking about Che to them. Now this is done in a variety of communities and over a period of time by a lot of activities and interactions. It has been decided, not only do these trainers believe that this community is good for Che, but these community members have talked together, they've had community meetings, the leadership's been there, and that community has decided we want to start Che in our community. One of the first things that they'll do after saying we want to start Che is they'll select people they call a committee. Now I'm using whistles to represent committee members because the committee's kind of like a sporting official who makes sure things are going as they should and that they are basically following the rules, if you will. And I'm going to take pennies and put a penny on each of these whistles. Now I didn't have pennies on the master trainers because the master trainers aren't necessarily from this community. But I did put pennies on these whistles, the committee, because all the committee members are from that community. The master trainers enter the village and teach the committee what their responsibilities will be and how they'll do it. And they do a lot of training, and it takes place over a period of time. So they're going to be in and out of the village frequently. And not only will they be doing training, but they're going to mix and mingle with the people and talk about Che. At some point, they're going to say, we need a community meeting to discuss what problem we want to work on with Che. However that community does community meetings, and that'll vary culture to culture, they're going to make a decision on what they believe is the one problem they really want to focus on. Now, the master trainers, their role is more as consultants. They don't dictate what is chosen as a problem. Like, I remember being in a community and they were discussing what problem they wanted to work on, and they selected one that I didn't think was their most important. But what's key in this is that the local people own their decision. They have decided this is the problem we want to work on. That helps with enthusiasm, with perseverance. It just provides a better chance of success. So let's say that this community has decided they want to work on clean water. The next step is for the committee to select what are called CHEs. CHE is not only a process, it was named after individuals. These individuals are going to be represented by gold doubloons, if you will, and I've chosen those because I think the CHEs are the money people. They're the key to the success of the program. And again, as you know now, I'm putting a penny on here to represent the fact that these are members of this community. And these CHEs have been selected by the committee to spread the word about how to work on this problem of clean water. The master trainers, who are outside the community but come in and out frequently, they will be coming in and teaching these CHEs two general types of things. First is they're going to be training them in spiritual lessons. These CHEs do not necessarily have to be Christians when they're first selected. However, experience and time has shown that if they are not Christians when they begin, they either become Christians or they say, I don't think I want to complete this training, it's not going to work for me. These master trainers not only teach the CHEs spiritual lessons, but they teach them lessons about water, good water, the problem that the community has decided they want to work on. They also teach them how to share this information with their neighbors. So here we get to the key points of what, this is what really makes CHE CHE. Each CHE has been trained in how to share information about spiritual concepts and about solving the problem the community has chosen. Now, the community is told if you want to participate in CHE, you need to tell the committee, and then the committee will assign homes to each of the CHEs. Now, I'm going to move some of these coins off to the side because not every home is going to want to participate in CHE. In fact, statistically, if you get a 40% involvement to start, that's really pretty good. So, here are the CHEs. They have been trained by the master trainers, and they are about to go share lessons with homes. Let's just use this one CHE as an example. Let's pretend this CHE has been assigned 4 homes. Again, these numbers I'm telling you, nothing is set in stone. There may be more homes than that for each CHE. There may be more committee members than this. There may be 2 or 3 master trainers, but the point is the concept, don't get too hung up on the specific numbers. So this CHE goes to visit the assigned homes. Every week, this CHE will come to this home, and they're going to share a lesson about the problem the community wants to work on. This CHE goes to this home and says, you know, we have decided as a community we want to work on fresh water. And I've learned a lesson and I've put it into practice in my own home, and already I'm seeing a difference in my children. I've learned that if I boil my water that I'm going to use to drink or to prepare food, that we seem to be healthier. And it reminds me of something that I've learned about myself, that there are some bad things in me that can cause me to be spiritually ill, and they need to be cleansed or removed. So this Che does the same lessons for each of their homes. Then they have a meeting with the committee. Within, the master trainers come back in. There's more training, a new lesson is put into practice. And then they visit again the second week. And they follow up and they say, how's that going on the boiling water? Do you see a difference? What questions do you have? You're really doing great. So there's encouragement. There's more instruction. It encourages them to keep moving towards the goal of clean water. And so let's say that this Che shares a new lesson, and he says, I found out once I clean my cookware, I can't just set it down in the dirt, but if I just take some twigs and I weave those twigs, I can make like a shelf, set it up off the ground, and then I can put my dishes up off the ground. And spiritually, there are certain bad things that I need to keep separate from my life. And they'll continue that lesson with this home and this home and this home. Come back again, repeat the process. The master trainers continue to visit until week after week, this Che becomes not just someone visiting, but a welcome friend. And don't forget, each of these Che's are mingling about in the community. They live in the community. So in the week, they're going to see these people in daily practice. And the same with the committee, the people who are watching over the whole process. They are members of this community. So as they go about their daily task, they're going to meet people, they're going to talk about Che, they're going to learn how it's going, because they want it to go well. The other thing is, remember that they are being visited by a Che as well and receiving the same lessons, and they are serving as examples to the community. And as this Che spends more and more time with these homes, each home will become unique as they become closer in friendships and they discuss new and different things. In addition, let's say that the mother of this household goes over wherever to the marketplace or whatever and sees this person who's not in Che, and she starts talking about how her children are more healthy, her husband is treating her better, etc., all because she's part of becoming involved in Che. Well, after they split up from the market, you know that this wife is going to be going right to the committee and say, I want someone coming to my household and visiting me about Che. And so that household is added to the Che's visit list. As this Che visits each home, there's going to come a point where a member of the household, or perhaps the whole household, will want to give their lives to Christ. If there are churches in the community, these master trainers have been visiting with the pastors. So the Che's have been doing their home visits. These master trainers have been meeting with the pastors and saying, you're going to start to have some new believers come to your church. Let's talk about how you can help them grow and become good disciples for Jesus. If there are no churches in that area, then these converts will start meeting with the Che's for home groups. A few here, maybe that household, one here. They start meeting in small groups. But remember, these other Che's are also meeting with homes, and they'll have converts. And so these converts become disciples and become the church for that community. At some point, the committee is going to, after consulting with the Che's and the master trainers, the committee's going to say to the community, we pretty much have this problem in the right direction. What would be another problem we want to work on? And then they would repeat the same process, learning new lessons from the master trainers about the problem selected, the Chays going to visit their homes, sharing about the gospel and also about the problem. And the other thing that will happen is that at some point, the master trainers are going to say, you know, from the very start of this, you knew that you were going to reproduce this process in another community nearby. So it's time that we have volunteer trainers selected. These volunteer trainers, it depends on when they're selected. Sometimes people think they should be selected immediately, and so they can learn as the Che process first starts. Others think these volunteer trainers should be selected after they've proven themselves, either by being a committee member or a Che. But remember, these volunteer trainers are still living in the community, they still have their jobs, they still have their families here. So the master trainers are going to help them as they go into different villages. But the master trainers will focus on empowering these volunteer trainers, not going into neighboring communities. The master trainers, once this community starts reproducing itself, these master trainers will seek out another community in a different area of that region so they can start this process and see it reproduced there. Now, let me re-enter the coordinator. You haven't seen much of the coordinator, and that means, if possible or desired, this coordinator doesn't even need to enter the community, because the master trainers are familiar with the method, they are passionate about it, they know what they're doing. The coordinator, if that coordinator is an outsider, someone not from that region, that could pose a problem, unless they may enter at some point in the process with the master trainers, and the master trainers meets with the committee, the village leaders, and say, we have been telling this person about this community and the great progress they're making, and he wanted to see it with his own eyes. And so in a way, this coordinator is not seen as the person with the knowledge or the power or the money, but enters the community as a learner and a fan of what they're doing and as an encourager. So this is kind of a general overview of community-based Che. I'm sure you have questions, and we can address those after this video is over. But let me also remind you that there's other types, church-based, church-initiated, government-initiated. And so feel free to find out and learn more about those. And thanks for a lot for listening about how Che works.